Now, if you can keep this string tight in your pitch shots, you're going to be a pretty daggone good pitcher of the golf ball. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put that on my grip. I'm going to have a little bit of tension on this string, and then I'm going to keep that tension the entire way back and through. Now, you see the reason this is so important is whenever my arm bends, so if my right elbow starts to bend, notice what that does to the club face. It pulls it way up off the ground or extends it way down into the ground. And when you start changing that angle, one swing you're going to thin it, the next swing you're going to chunk it. So a great solution to that is go ahead and set up, just tie a normal string around one of the shirt buttons on your shirt, and then you're going to pull that a little bit tight and kind of tuck it under your left thumb just so you can hold on to it, or just hold on to it wherever you want to, under your fingers. Doesn't really matter how you hold the string on there. But I just want a little slight bit of tension on there. So you can see this is kind of pulling my shirt slightly. And then as I go back, I'm going to feel like I keep that tension. What I don't want to do is bend these arms, and all of a sudden this goes slack. Imagine this is my low point control. If I can keep the same amount of tension on this the entire time, that's going to control my low point, and I'll be able to hit really clean chips and pitches. It'll be super easy. So the great thing about that is, if I can control this and I have great feedback, I'll hit the ground consistently, and if I hit the ground consistently, that's really the name of the game. When you hit your bad chips and pitches, it's not because you missed it 10 feet to the right. How often do you just hit one 20 feet to the right of the hole that was nice and cleanly struck? It just never happens. It's all about distance control, and that's mostly about hitting it solid. If I chunk one, it goes nowhere and I got a long putt. If I thin it, it shoots past the hole. That's the name of the game. So instead of getting worried about all kinds of things, let's master this, and it's easy. All right, so the first thing is, how do I keep that right arm straight? Well, if my shoulders don't move, let's say that my hips and my shoulders stay perfectly still. I'm going to try to keep this arm straight, but I can only go to about right here, and then my arms have to bend to keep the club moving. You see, because my shoulders moving is what allows me to keep that right arm straight. So let me go ahead and grab this string again. Okay, so from here, if my shoulders rotate, now all of a sudden, I can go back as far as I want and still keep that arm pretty straight. And again, that's going to control my low point. So let's start from the ground up and talk about how we do that. A wide stance is a big no-no here. When I have a wider stance, I'm going to tend to lock my knees, lock my hips, and then I start using all arms, changing that angle again. I want to put my heels, really, I'd love to have them closer together the better. For some players, I'd even recommend starting out with your heels touching. So your ankles are touching. Let your front foot open up a little bit. And what that allows you to do, again, is it allows you to rotate your knees and your body to allow your shoulders and your hips to rotate, to allow that right arm to stay still. The left foot being open just helps you to pivot through it a little bit more. Imagine a pitch is like tossing a golf ball to the screen where your knees pivot and your feet are opening up, make that easier. Same thing with my belt buckle. I'm imagining that turning back and through as I'm hitting this pitch shot. I don't want to lock this in. Sure, you could do that for a little bump and run shot, but anything with any kind of distance at all, you look at the pros, they're going to be pivoting those knees. They're going to be pivoting those hips, so that belt buckle is going to be moving. Now from there, now that I have everything moving, my shoulders are going to be moving, and I can almost imagine like if I had a big pail of water, a heavy bucket of water, that's how I'd swing that. I'd be letting everything in my body kind of move that back and through. I wouldn't be moving that heavy bucket like this with just my hands and arms. So feet close together, left foot open. Let my knees pivot, my belt buckle pivot, my shoulders are going to rotate. And then from there, I can go ahead and just keep a little bit of tension in this string, and that's going to allow me to have really great low point control. So now I can hit the ground at the same point every time, and it's not unless I bend this arm and the string goes slack, or I throw the arm and the string really gets tighter, that I'm going to have struggle with that low point control. So here again, let's go ahead and hit a nice little pitch. And it's just easy to hit it clean. Must have my radar lined up a little awkward, a little sideways because I hit that right dead in the center of the screen there. But that was an easy, nice, clean shot. Now, the last piece here is you can have a little bit of flow. I don't want to be dead armed with my wrist. I don't want to feel like this is locked in, no wrist movement whatsoever, and I'm just going back and forth like that. I do want to have a little bit of flow, almost like I'm tossing the club, tossing a golf ball. So if you imagine if you had the golf ball in your hand and you're going to go ahead and let this kind of lag behind and just toss it toward the target, your wrist would be loose. You'd be letting that go this way. you wouldn't be just trying to muscle it through with your hand and arm locked. You'd go ahead and have a little flow to it. That's the same thing that's happening here when you're hitting these pitch shots. Let the wrist have a little bit of flow. Almost imagine it like a little gate, and it's going back and forth this way, but it's not necessarily rolling over a ton, opening and closing. Just kind of back and forth, just like if you were tossing a golf ball toward the target. So it's not doing a bunch of different angles. It's just swinging back and through, which keeps the face nice and square. So keeping tension on this keeps your low point in control. Having that wrist be nice and soft and loose helps you get a feel for how hard to hit it and be able to be, have a lot of touch around the greens. Let's try another one out. There we go. Really nice and solid again, right in the dead center of the screen. Couldn't hit it any cleaner than that. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, okay, I get the basic motion there, and I understand that I can hit it solid, and pitching is going to be really easy now, but how do I control the distance? We talked about that tossing motion, but what if I get a little bit farther than that? What if I get that 30, 40, 50, 60 yards out? That's a little bit longer than a pitch. How do pros control those shots? How do they seem to get it right on the number? Well, there's a system that I like to use that a lot of people have heard of, but they always use it the wrong way. And in this system, we measure how far we swing back and through to judge the distance that we're going to hit. You see, what most people are missing this one piece of it. It's not how far back and through you swing that makes it work. It's something else that I'm going to share with you in this next video. So I'm going to play a preview of that here in a second. Just go ahead and click the card that you see up on your screen. If you don't see one of those cards, just go down to the description down below, click the link there, and I can't wait to show you this method to dial in your wedge distances and just become a master around the greens. It's the best next step to add now that you're pitching it great. Let's go and get started.
Well, I used to actually practice a lot in high school. This is one of my favorite things to do. I had a strip mowed down the back of my yard where I took the lawnmower. My parents probably hated this because I mowed it down to like half-inch turf in the back of the yard because we lived on a farm. And I would set buckets or towels along this, and I would try to set them at those distances that I knew. And maybe I knew my 56 degree went right at 65 yards. So I'd set a bucket 65 yards away, and I would go ahead and do my 9 o'clock swing, and I would try to fly it right into the bucket. And I'd get to where I could tell for sure if I was going to be a couple yards short or a couple yards long, just because it gets so ingrained when you get the rhythm and the finish the same every time. We can use different length backswings to control the distance of our wedge shots. So for example, if we imagine that I'm a clock and 6 o'clock is directly down, my wedge would be at 6 o'clock, or my arms would be at 6 o'clock, I can go back to a 7:30 swing and I can have the same finish and hit at a certain distance, or I can go back to 9 or 10:30 and swing through to the same distance, and that's going to control, or the same finish point, and that's going to control the distance that my wedge shots are going to fly in the air. And I've got to keep that rhythm and that tempo very, very consistent. If I vary my tempos, I can hit at all kinds of different distances. So for example, I could have a real quick tempo 7:30 swing and probably hit this 90 yards. I could have a, maybe not really that far, probably 50 or 60 yards. I could have a very slow tempo 7:30 swing and hit half that distance. So I've got to get my distance the same. I've got to get my rhythm the same. That's the real key to it. And the second piece on there